I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but I think that studios like EA and Ubisoft get an undeserved level of hate, at least when you compare them to Nintendo. I talked about this in a previous video, but Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser said in an NPR interview that the company was actively looking into a response method in light of President Donald Trump's tariffs. However, he seems to have walked back on those tariffs for now in order to enrich himself and his rich buddies, but that's beside the point. Apparently, one such strategy for Nintendo is not pushing the sale of their almost $500 Switch 2, but instead pitch shift to promoting an introduction into their gaming ecosystem however people can. Which in layman's terms means that if people are too poor to buy the Switch 2, they should buy the previous console, which, depending on the model, could be 4 to 8 years old. In terms of raw power, the Switch 2 is, or rather will be, leading the pack for just a little while. However, when you have an uber gamer-friendly service like Game Pass, and a Play Anywhere ecosystem like Steam with its Steam Deck, the graphical fidelity of the next Mario Kart game isn't going to be nearly as appealing on a $500 console when you can play hundreds of thousands of games on a device that's nearly 25% less expensive. Whereas companies like EA will happily break Sims games into 6,000 pieces and sell you individual parts for $20 a piece, or Ubisoft will always find some way to inject microtransactions into their games. Ultimately, these are profit-driven companies doing what profit-driven companies will always do to some degree or another. Nintendo, on the other hand, is like the Apple of the gaming landscape. It's all proprietary, closed off, uncompromising. Sure, the level of polish with every game and the innovation technology of every console does set the standard, but it's always a short-lived peak with a long-term plateau. This has been a model that's worked for a while, but with an ever more volatile economic landscape, it's a model that may not be as acceptable to the general public anymore. Nintendo has taken on a lot of bad press recently, rightfully so. While the company itself is still one of those too big to fail sorts of situations, their typical greed and anti-gamer sentimentality has gone completely off the rails. Tone deaf to the economic reality of the present day, and seemingly ignorant to a lot of other moves that more gamer-friendly companies are making. At the end of the day, Nintendo is still going to be Nintendo, and it's still going to mostly be a success story with the Switch 2. But as we've seen with many other companies in recent years, their reputation will only go so far. Follow for more and check @followertoshi on all other socials.